Hello, welcome to another video. In this video, we will discuss Acroism, one of the religions in my fantasy universe, one out of many, one of the most important religions out of them all, and one of the most prevalent. This is an oversimplification of the religion, and I do plan on, in the far future, changing this video and making an upload for a new version, as I might change some things about the religion. But this is a generalization, and you get the point now. Let's begin. So, before we start, we need to know some terms. Some terms are a lord. This is a god with the title of lord, which actually gives the gods a certain power. Titles can be earned in multiple ways. Sometimes they can be earned through what is known as conquest, where if you kill someone with a title of lord and you're powerful enough, you could take that title from them. You can also be given a lord title from another lord, though this is a very rare situation. There's another way in which you claim yourself to be a title, and then you get enough recognition from the gods, and this allows for you to get that title power, so on and so on. Chaita. This is a nickname referring to members of the Chaitan, a collection of gods focused on the creation and maintenance of Neuron, Imanica, paradise, and other realms that might be controlled by some of the more powerful members. Shaitan, a nickname for a lord whose destructive deeds massively outweigh his good deeds, and thus he is considered an evil lord. So think of Shaitan as just evil god. But the evilness of certain Shaitans does vary depending on who you're talking to, the gods we're talking about, and many more nitpicks. What is Acroism? Acroism is the name of a religion which focuses on the worship of Acrodome, Lordess of life and creation, and patron of the seven virtues. Fun fact: Acroism is one of the oldest religions in the world and has been practiced throughout the world numerous times through numerous different civilizations. Aquadome herself is also one of the oldest goddesses that has ever existed. And I'm not just saying for lords, I'm saying for all gods. Now, there are many different titles of gods, which I will discuss in a future video. Perhaps I should make a video discussing in more detail the titles. Anywho, who is Aquadome? Aquadome is the Lordess of life and creation. In the Tanai and the Book of Dome, two major Aqua's texts, Aquadome is described as the following. She has been described to have created all of Neuron, with all of its people, life, and objects. She is described as a green-eyed, fair-skinned woman with long red hair. This is true. She is typically well known for wearing a long white robe. This is false, as she does wear a white robe, but it has a lot of blue stripes on it, so it's more of a white/blue robe. She is said to have an ancient wolfa form given to her by her husband. By the way, a wolfa is basically a anthropomorphic wolf person, so you could search that term up if you want to know more. Not wolfa, but anthropomorphic, if you want to know what that means. Defended Nurun numerous times, and she has been said, according to the religion, to have created the magical barrier. Practices. In Acroism, some practices will include practice of the seven virtues, which you can see here. Frequent studies of Acroist texts, such as the Book of Dome. And so these are frequent studies of the texts to try to analyze them for what they really mean. Subliminal messaging. What are they? what messages is Acroism trying to get? Because she wrote the Book of Dome in and of itself. Weekly prayers, so prayers and worshiping of Aquadome, and now this usually happens once every week, so that's why it says weekly. Eat certain foods on certain days, so you could see fruits on Mondays, vegetables on Tuesdays, etc., etc. This is like a very controlled like eating, and is more of a way to represent control of yourself, of your mind, and of your body. And it's also a reflection of Aquadome's diet, which she does love fruits and vegetables, but she definitely enjoys her fair share of steak, pork, and all other meat there is. Day of Humility. The Day of Humility is one of the holidays of Acroism, which is a day in which people confess the good and bad deeds that they have done. It's a day where people come together and recognize the limits of humanity. It's a day meant to understand the strengths and weaknesses of oneself and his/her peers, and how to improve on themselves. So this is a day of course, humility, humbleness, to recognize your strengths and your limits, and how to be the best that you can. Afri-Neuron Day. Afri-Neuron Day, also just known as the Creation Day, Creation Celebration, etc., is an Acroist holiday celebrating the creation of Neuron. It includes massive gatherings in cities with huge feasts, prayers, games, and all sorts of fun stuff. And so, this is another one of their holidays, and probably the most famous one, as this represents one of the biggest things that has ever happened, the creation of Neuron. And now we shall discuss the history. So, according to the ancient Acroist texts, in a time where evil prevailed, Aquadome was born in a realm of peace known as Minan. Minan was, compared to the other realms, considered a land of peace. When Aquadome was born, her mother mainly raised her, while her father fought in many wars to defend the home. She learned how to create a bug at 10, a seed at 15, and then after that, her history is largely clouded until she turned the age of 30. At this point, she began the creation of Neuron in her quests. Also in this time, she formed the Chiton, with Oleus, Lord of Death and of the Afterlife, and Aquadome's future husband, Dathan, Lord of Loyalty, Order, and Justice. Now, a fun fact I forgot to note here is that the first recorded marriage in history, was between Aquadome and Dathan. So that is the first recorded marriage in history. And another fun fact, Oleus would later become a Shaitan. And for the first era, he was one of the most powerful Shaitans. For thousands of years, Aquadome worked on the realm of Neuron, adding all of the food, water, life, and everything else needed to sustain a civilization, a realm. I don't know why I said planet here. That's a mistake. It's actually called a realm. It's not a planet. It's a realm with a limited range. Eventually, roughly around 40 to 20,000 years in the first era, the first people, the Etmor, a race of pale/yellow elves, were created. This led to the creation of Evan and Erina, the first sentient man and woman of Neuron, who was sent to the realm of Neuron. They went to create the bow and began the creation of sentient people. So they are seen as the first people to exist on all of Earth. Neuron, I mean. Eventually, many different races were created by Aquadome, of course, according to the texts, and by 15,000 of the first era, which is what the negative stands for, first era, for reference in my fantasy universe, 10 million people were on Nurn. Eventually, the Lord of the Seven Sins, Ozra, would laid a curse on the people of Nurn, which spread like wildfire. This curse led to people becoming more susceptible to the sins of life, with Aquadome responding by creating a blessing to those who are devout to her to remove themselves from the challenge of sin. So, according to the texts, Ozra lays his curse on humanity using his worshippers to spread the ideas and pleasures of sin, and Aquadome does the same except for the pleasures and devoutness and necessity of basically the opposite of sin. And so that's where these two are actually go to rivals. Azra is one of the most powerful Shaitans at this time and will continue to be a very powerful god until his death in the late First Era. Finally, as the Chiton crisis, which was a crisis where many gods were leaving the Chiton, was happening, Neuron was invaded by numerous gods. Now, most of these invasions could be classed more as raids. However, in 3000 of the First Era, Villicus Octavia, one of the many names that is given to the Lord of Domination, invaded Neuron and started a long period of constant war across the world. This is known as the First Overseer Invasion. With the help of Euthymar, also known as Aquadome's elven child, the Overseers were pushed away from Neuron. This wouldn't take effect until Vilcas Octavia was killed, who, according to the texts, was killed by Euthymar in glorious battle. Afterwards, she and the Chiton built the magical barrier, creating the modern Neuron. Oversimplified? So, of course, as I've said before, this series of stories is only a oversimplification of a very complicated story. For example, Acrodome talks to many people, such as Evan in the Book of Dome, where Evan asks if she, Acrodome, is not just one almighty creator, then why shall I worship she? And Acrodome responds with, I am your creator. I created the ground you walk on, the food you eat, and the pleasures of life. But most importantly, I have created you. And thus, I beg of you only one requirement to understand me as your God, Lordess, and to treat me as such. And so, this is kind of what Aquadome's thinking with the religion, and this is what the religious people believe. Because Aquadome created all people, that these people should give back to their creator. Now, this is actually a pretty, almost a bad idea at first, because this is the same idea that many other gods have. However, Aquadome is practices many, I guess you could say, virtuous, good things, and thus it can be seen as not as bad. So Aquadome is of course God, the goddess. She created all of humankind, elven kind, and Vermani kind, and she basically needs to be worshipped and given praise for what she has done to given all of them all of what they have. And so that's their idea. We should talk about truth versus false. As with most religions in my fantasy universe, there is some, if not a lot, of truth with the Acroist religion. However, a lot of the story can be shown as either over exaggeration or flat out lies. Sorry about that. Truth. Aquadome did create Neuron, but she did it with the help of the Chiton. So, according to the stories, she did it mostly by herself, all of it by herself, but that is a false oversimplification fact. She did it, but with the help of other gods. The Etmors were created by Aquadome, and they were the first race. In fact, they were created as far back as negative 41,000 of the first era. Evan and Erina were created by Acronym. They indeed were some of the first truly sentient and truly Etmor people, and in fact, they also did create the bow. In fact, the bow is still around tens of thousands of years after it was made. The Chitin is real, and so are all the gods that belong to it. So the organization, the group of gods, all of them are real. Now, the stories and specifics about these gods and what they've done can definitely be either lies or oversimplifications or like over exaggerations or you know, but the entities themselves are real. False. Acrodome did not create all the races. In fact, some of them were created by Shaitans. Acrodome did not defend Neuron from invaders. In fact, she had no play in most wars. She was not a war type person. She was more of a creation, a peace lover person. God, I mean, goddess. Euthymar did not kill Vilcus Octavia. So in the story, Euthymar kills Vilcus Octavia and you know kills him permanently. But in actual real lore, he did not kill Vilcus Octavia. In fact, he was on the wrong continent when Vilcus Octavia died. Minan did not exist. Instead, Acrodome was born in a pre-Imanica world. So she was born in a realm that was like Imanica, which eventually she turned into Imanica. Acrodome's father died before she was born, so she didn't actually get to see him, nor did he fight to defend her. Now, I should have had two mores. Number one, she did not have any involvement with the construction of the magical barrier. She did support the idea, but she had no involvement in the building. And I think the second one, um, let me go back up and see if I forgot what it was, but I can't. Nothing. Never mind. I'm not sure what I was looking for. I thought I had another one. But anyway, that's it. I hope you appreciated the video. I'm glad you took the time and day to listen to my the universe I've been creating. And if you'd like it, you can leave a like, you can subscribe. I appreciate comments and I appreciate it when my viewers and subscribers go on and check out my community posts. I try to stay up to date, but I'm not always up to that task. After this video, I'll make several community posts regarding not just this video, but several other videos. So I hope you'll check them out. If you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. I hope each and every one of you has had a good day or night, and I will see you all another time.